So what we're going to talk about this afternoon, firstly, my name is Chris Waterhouse. I'd like to welcome you to our It's Nearly the End of Summer webinar, part of the IDI Pack 2018 Summer Series. Sorry the summer's rolling by to a close, although it is forecasted around here to be the warmest October ever in the UK, which is great news. In the webinar, we'll be looking to delve into our performance-defined packaging process. Explain the process, explain the benefits to the be they financial, be they supply agility, be they to the business, and of course in terms of the packaging performance, getting it right every time. So moving on to what we'll be looking at. So what is PDP? Where can it be used? The benefits of the PDP process, the opportunities, the process itself, which I think you'll find interesting, the timeline, how little wins for confident overall delivery of the process, and we've also got some case studies which we'll share with you. In summary, we'll also go through a few bits and pieces in terms of conclusions, and finally we'll tell you a little bit more about IDI Pack if you haven't already seen this, how we help our clients, how we deliver the benefits of our pragmatically engineered solutions in a timely, cost-effective way through our great team here at IDI Pack to what we believe is a very broad and multinational client base. So PDP, it's not all about cost. Cost is there to be addressed. We'll be using our process, and of course one of the important things as far as we're concerned is you can't solve a problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created those same problems. Words of Albert Einstein. I think we probably all think, or would share the view, he's a pretty clever kind of guy and understand a few things about life in general. So, what is PDP? Performance Defined Packaging. PDP is a technology and science-based process. We specify the packaging to deliver performance in a highly methodical way across all aspects of all sections of the supply chain. We use our specialized knowledge, transform this into a unique benefits platform, creating time savings, cost reduction, and the capability to deliver agility within the supply chain and flexibility across all aspects of the business for our clients. Some of the key tenets of the PDP process are the fact we are following the fairy tale to a certain extent of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, so much so that we have the business learning out of these things. These stories, the morals last over the years. We're not looking for over-engineered unless it's a business decision in terms of the packaging systems. We're using the science to create a performance-driven specification that relates to any different materials, conventional, biodegradable, compostable, all in there. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create a competitive price, wider supply, pragmatically engineered solution that is just right for the application. And that's the important thing. Like Goldilocks and Three Bears, just right for the application. Okay, so where can it be used? I mean, there'll be those that be thinking, well, you can't use it in this industry, that industry. What we're using it for is for right weighting across multiple industries, tea and drinks, beverages, cereals, pharmaceuticals, white goods, homeware, and also into the cosmetics industry. So we're looking at cost optimization. We're looking to create supply chain flexibility. We have the opportunity to widen the vendor choices through material change, through understanding the materials better and the performance better. And we're also, really important area is that we're able to look at alternative materials. If those materials have the same attributes, the characteristics, we're able to use biotype materials in an environment where historically the more conventional plastics, cardboards or whatever have been used. And with this confidence in materials and performance, we can shorten the MPD lead times. Less trials, less testing, really so many uses across industry, and the technology never stops ending. We can use PDP as a vehicle for continuous improvement, driving the technical inputs, growing the performance of the solution developed in a positive way for the business. Okay. So, the process benefits. What does it give us? It gives us reduced sourcing costs, a wider vendor base through greater competition. a use of optimized, not necessarily premium, unless that's a defined requirement, for the performance of the packs. We get reduced weights, less waste, all those sorts of good things that are positive from an eco perspective. And given that wider vendor base gives us the competition, the shorter lead times, more appropriate supply base depending on the region of the world you're working in, and rather than shipping all over the place, which gives you a CO2 benefit as well. MPD, as I said in the last slide, is swifter, more impressive in terms of its delivery, less line trials, less shot in the dark type testing, and a much reduced evaluation of the performance in the lab. So we get the cost savings, we get the right weighting, which is highly important, of course, we get that agility and that MPD improvement in terms of total process. So looking at the opportunities now, so we've got this flexibility of supply, this broader vendor supply base. It facilitates that business change, supports a sustainable business, green from a sustainability perspective, eco perspective, also a business saving in terms of dollars, euros, whatever. We've already discussed this broader vendor base. In addition, we also have this greater flexibility in material, which in turn creates material and cost savings. As a foundation stone to new product development, material development processes have confidence in material performance is key. We reduce lead times, enable more effective introductions, giving us all the benefits of the better lead time and improvements in that area. It gives us that confidence in delivering change. And that is a highly important area as far as many of us in new product development are concerned. So the process itself. So like many processes, PDP is no different than many. We need to understand the scope, undertake the delivery phase, or the discovery phase, sorry, to get under the skin of the challenge being addressed. Premium can be a definition attribute if that's what we need as a business. It could be cost effective. Pharma quality can be defined as an attribute. Food safe, the print surface whiteness, all those sorts of good things are all very important in getting the project scope correct. So we get these established through kick-off meetings. These discuss the needs across the supply chain, also across the vendor base, which is a little bit unique in terms of this process. We capture the key data. We bring the brief back from the kick-off meeting feedback. We set the brief, we agree the brief, we work through it. And from there, we start to get expert inputs. The interviews gathered from stakeholders, gathered from the wider resources available to us in terms of research, packaging technology, research, materials research, talking to experts in the field. So we're bringing all those guys into the debate rather than just utilizing the resources of a supplier, a vendor, or internal prejudices, which is maybe one of the things that we concern ourselves with sometimes. So as we move through the process, we're doing the interviews, we get the extensive background data research and knowledge inputs, we define those key attributes, the attributes of the materials that the packaging has to deliver. Everything, as I mentioned before, from whether the material needs to be food, pharma, or something else in terms of quality, be it nut-free perhaps, or palm-free, or a material for PVC-free, whatever. Does it need to be biodegradable? All the way through to the more technical aspects, bending forces, whiteness, percent recycle, and those sorts of things. This creates the buy-in and support and ownership from client staff teams because everyone is involved. The vendors are involved, the supply base, the procurement guys are involved to create these important packaging attributes. Because of what is an interesting aspect of the work we do, we end up in a situation where, as we create the buy-in, the usual multi-property specifications, for a paperboard, maybe 30, 40, 50 different measurements they take, we often develop or frequently develop a much simpler yet more useful document, which is the draft PDP, ready for testing the hypotheses we're putting forward. Okay, so from there we develop the process into its conclusion. The iterations, we run the draft. We run the draft in terms of development, improving the quality of the output of the draft documentation, the specification. We go through a development loop driven by line trials, driven by feedback from the client and also from the vendors. within the PDP document. The best importantly has different definitions depending on the business. It might be the cheapest that achieves the end. It might be premium in terms of the product that you're looking at. It might be something else. Unless we know at the scope stage what best is, it's really important to actually define it and help them, the client deliver it within the process. But again, being the best, or not being the best, sorry, choosing the best specification is another example of personalization, how this process can actually deliver personalization to your client specifications, to your product specifications. Into the implementation stage now, we validate the PDP against the desired performance characteristics. We create a range of specifications, the tolerances. Through internal processes, we then validate and press at that point, the implementation stage, the metaphorical big green button. We move ahead with the process. And from then on, it's a rollout for business benefit, all as highlighted earlier, giving us all those flexibility, all those agility in the supply chain, cost reductions, cost improvements, and those sorts of things. So we've got that validated PDP, and we roll it out across all packaging, or across packaging in that particular area of the business we've been reviewing. And at the end of the day, it's all those little details. To paraphrase what I said previously, it's the little details that are vital, little things that make big things happen, as said by John Wooden. If you can create an environment where through the PDP process, we save overall a multitude of diverse influences, perhaps 2 pennies, 2 fractions of a cent per box, you produce a nominal 10 million units a month. Really not beyond ridiculous in terms of numbers for many of the businesses that we talk to. That equates to $2.4 million per annum. Really huge numbers, worthwhile addition to the bottom line. And if you start rolling that across more widely within the business, it gives you the tonnages of materials and a great eco story too. Those benefits are huge. Those benefits are something that really can demonstrate the power of the packaging systems that we're using. Okay, so in PDP there are kind of 3 different, if you like, changes, different stages we've seen so far. There's lots of small changes, but these cumulative add in terms of value, they create a decent value. We can then move to an ongoing benefit type thing. These are regular things that we're doing the work on. We're taking those forward over time, and they will create maybe not so many projects, but they create an ongoing benefit throughout the business, and it's sustainable benefit over time. The important thing is as well, and I'll come on to it in a little while, is that the way, if we incorporate this within process change, the PDP process within the whole piece of the NPD process within your business, we're doing not many NPDs on an annual basis compared to lots of these small changes, and part of the ethos of what we're doing. The important thing is they deliver long-term change, long-term benefit, because they get embedded within the business, embedded within the processes that we're using for development, and with that benefit we create a continuous improvement environment. Those many small changes, short timelines, we create that huge and varied business benefit on an ongoing basis. Okay, find the mouse, there we go. So a very swift case study at this point. I've shared it before in a previous webinar. We were asked to develop a sustainable material for ready meal trays. Understand that classically in a thermoform tray, we were then tasked with looking at thermoformed materials that would retain shape at temperature, suitable for conventional microwave use, all those good things, suitable for fatty acidic foods, leak-proof seals, obviously, but also to provide an aesthetic that was more in keeping with the particular brand that we were talking to. Key that it had to be compatible with the existing material, so the ability to change shapes, to mess around too much with the actual format wasn't really there. And we're looking for high levels of barrier for oxygen scavenging, for water moisture content, and moisture contents, and CO2, nitrogen, all those sorts of things for modified atmosphere packaging. So we started doing this and came up with what we believe is the right answer. It's been taken forward for within the process. Some of the things that we talk about a little bit are the latent findings, latent benefits, and it gives us a team engagement thing. It's a collaboration thing. It's used as a vehicle within the business to keep and to generate and move people out of silos. It gets people engaged in the same project, which gets us over, in a lot of cases, the kind of not invented here type syndromes where we can move forward. So we get to a point where the environmental brief was met, board trays were trialled and accepted. Single SKU was delivered as a pilot, and more SKUs are now planned. Phase 2 would be multi-compartment trays. Again, a benefit of using the right systems, the right benefits in terms of cost effectively, right sizing, right weighting the product itself, and giving us all the benefits of the performance of the packs and the confidence it was going to work, because the material characteristics and attributes were all captured at an early stage in the project. The next one is a cosmetics case study. This particular client were transitioning from plastic peanuts to plastic trays, and then they were looking at compostable trays. Really struggled with it, to be honest. They wanted to generate savings, of course, as all businesses do. They were looking to substantial weight savings, and they didn't want to disrupt production. The quality of the output was synonymous with this particular product, this particular company, and it needed to be just right. So we moved through from the peanuts into a plastic tray. That was a good step. However, using a modular approach to the structural design later on, we were able to move to a compostable design. It's a great story. It's what we need in pack development. We need to associate ourselves with that narrative. What sells, what connects, particularly when we're talking to guys in the marketing and sales area, where they are promoting the products in our customer base as a business. And from there, they're able to see and tell the story in a way that connects with the client base. Also gave us great eco credentials, and it's a great consumer take-up. Structural design plus the PDP creates benefits widely all across the supply chain. We ticked all the particular boxes in that particular case. Okay, so in summary, briefly, it's a transparency process. The process itself is so, I'm not going to say simple, because it's not simple, but the process is consistent in the way we deal with it. That gives us an ability to put fixed evaluation costs. To our clients, we can give them a fixed price for this particular work, depending on within a range, but broadly speaking, it's not a big step for a particular client. It's science and technology based. Nobody argues with that approach. You know, it gives us all those things. And then we get the latency out of it. We get the supply flexibility, we get the agility, the shorter lead times, because we've got a wider vendor base. And it gives us also the ability to change materials, the alternative materials. As we move forward, as time goes by, we get to a point as well where the confidence that we have in the process and the products and the materials allows us a much better and more rapid turnaround. It allows us to optimize. We get the right weighting, the confidence in delivery, and also we've found quite significantly that from an e-commerce perspective, it gives us a slightly different approach. The e-commerce perspective is different than the retail perspective, and on that basis, we're able to, again, optimize. It might extend the range, but once we start adding in other little bits and pieces, things like the digital print processes, potentially, that gives us the ability to personalize and move things forward in that way. So at the end of the day, it's just right as a process, using the PDP process in its entirety, but relatively quick. I mean, from start to finish, to get to the start of implementation, we're talking about something like about 6 weeks. Like the Goldilocks fairy tale, it's the right weight. It's just right for the businesses that we're dealing with at the moment. Okay, so what next? You know, we'll work to contact the guys that have attended the webinar today. We look to capture your thoughts. We'll be happy to rerun the webinar for your business with a more focused discussion. We'd love to meet up, understand the opportunities for developing a PDP program within your business that supports a sustainable or sustainability strategy within your business. Come to one of the industry events I'll be speaking at over the coming months. Perhaps share a coffee. we'd love to connect via LinkedIn. That gives our feeds on our views on packaging in the world at large, and we'll also be putting out more details on Twitter and LinkedIn for the reruns of the program. We could meet at one of your offices if you'd wish. We are getting some great feedback in terms of the PDP process. People are really very excited about it. And at the end of the day, did you know, in the world of packaging, all this kind of work that we're doing, it's an $850 billion business at the moment, scheduled or predicted to be something like $1 trillion by 2020. A lot of that work, the acceleration, is to do with more expensive materials, the sustainability story. PDP can help you with the sustainability story and actually help to optimize as material changes take place. Okay. So just very quickly, as a business, a little bit more about RDI Pack. We solve product and supply chain challenges. Effective design. We are engineers. We are packaging guys. And we also understand the supply chain. We engineer packaging and supply chain solutions. That's what we're about. So from our perspective, practical expertise, specialist support across the packaging and supply chain activity. So we've been around since as a business since 2008. We are, as I say, all about the interface between packaging and supply chain. The less glamorous end. We're not a design agency. There are people that are much better than us about doing those sorts of things. We can do design, of course we do, but we're much more into the structural design rather than graphics. But at the end of the day, what we do is create solutions. The graphics is sometimes part of the solution, and we will do that as well. We also do the digital side of things, the personalization side of things, those sorts of things that actually add in today's marketplace the important elements of delivering the excitement to the unboxing experience, as we hear so much about these days. And the personalization, we work in pharma, we understand track and trace, serialization, anti-counterfeit, all those sorts of good things that are so important for a world that's moving much more towards e-commerce in its widest form. So the sort of folks that we work for: food industry, Glanbia, Cheminova, FMC, Glaxo with pharmaceuticals, AstraZeneca pharmaceuticals, Syngenta from chemicals, Marine Harvest with food, BSF Muntons, all global brands that allow us to use our skills, our expertise in the supply chain with packaging and support them. At the end of the day, we don't ask you to believe what I say necessarily, although I'd hope you would. At the end of the day, judge us by the company that we keep. These are the people that employ us and keep us employed and look after us as they're our clients. We value them, and we'd love you to be part of that particular story. So where I am at this moment in time in the office there, love you to join us on LinkedIn. There are my contact details. We're around about all the time. You can actually share a copy of the webinar. We've recorded this for today, and it will be on our website a little bit later. So I have actually got a couple of questions. Okay, let's just dig those out. Thank you. Okay, so there's a gentleman called Henry from France, or Henri from France. What he's asked is, the PDP program looks very interesting. What sort of timelines before you start to see the benefits? Okay, that's a pretty wide question. The important thing is we can get to a point, as I said, it's a very structured process we go through. And assuming we have access to the right people at the right time, we can normally move through the process in about 6 weeks, end to end, to actually get to a point where we identify, understand the benefits we're going to achieve through the program, and actually put some numbers against those. We can start to put some rough figures against them. We start to understand the benefits in terms of the material savings, those sorts of things, and actually get to a point where it's very easy to sell the next stage of the process. The return on investment is exceptional. The numbers involved with large corporates are sufficiently large that even a fraction of a penny improvement in or efficiency on manufacturing creates a benefit to the business, which is very well known and understood by the businesses themselves. So we get in about 6 weeks' time. That's the sort of window of identifying the first, the benefits, if you like, the ability to actually deliver a presentation that says, we will deliver this for you, assuming you go forward on that basis. So hopefully that answers the question, Henri. The next one is Michael from the UK. The example you gave in cosmetics, you mentioned structural changes. What were the structural changes? Okay, this goes back to our heartland, if you like, as a business in personalization, structural design. We're passionate about delivering solutions that allow our clients to be hugely flexible in the supply chain. One of the things we do quite a lot of is taking an existing, I'll call it a primary pack, and converting and taking the secondary packaging. We may, to address a supply chain problem, this is what packaging does, we address the supply chain problem by perhaps modifying or changing or restructuring the secondary packaging system. In this particular case, we came up with a solution which allowed us to in the first instance it was thermoforming,